Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Mr.fixit channel. Today I've got a Polaris Magnum 425 in the shop and I'm going to be putting a cooling fan in this, so stay tuned.
I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall.
Alright, so besides the cooling fan, I got a few other things I need to do to this. That's why I kind of got it already tore apart. I had to put a battery in it and I got to tighten up the change. But anyway, that's not this video. This video is the cooling fan. As you probably know, it lives back in here. And it's quite a bit of work to get this out. You got to take all the bumper off. You got to take this rack loose. Got to take the radiator loose and get in there, and so let's take this thing apart and put a cooling fan in it. Alright, I hope the sound of this battery charger running in the background doesn't get too distracting. But to get this cooling fan out, first thing I need to do is get the radiator loose. I'm not sure, may have to take the bumper off. So let's get into this, let's see what we got to do. Alright, so first I'm going to take this winch plate off. This is actually a pretty nice little winch plate. Bolts in, looks factory. I'm sure this is aftermarket, but I like how they mounted that. So we got 6 bolts, there's 3 down there, 3 down there. Alright, let's get this thing off of there. Alright, the next thing I gotta take out is the voltage regulator. It's got some T25s, I think they are, in here. Or at least should be. Alright, there's one. There should be 2 more in here. This one in the middle here has a ground wire on it, so you want to make sure you put that ground wire back on. Okay, take these side panels off. There's these rubber O-rings. Going to peel these off. There's 4 of these. Well, it's supposed to be 4. That one's missing one. We can take the side panels off. There's a little Christmas tree fastener right there on either side. Normally there's one here and here too, but the winch mount had bolts running through. So we'll get that out of there. Alright, now to get the rack off, there's a bolt right there, and there's one going up through the frame right here on both sides. So get those 4 bolts out. These up front are a 7/16 head. Oh boy, that one's in there tight. Oh, damn it. Now normally the ones that are underneath the fenders that go right here, they're normally a Allen head, a 3/16 Allen, and a 1/2 inch nut on the back. Half or 7/16, one of the two, but these have been replaced with just regular bolts. These aren't the funnest thing to get to. There's one, and just do the one on the other side, just like that. Alright, now the next thing I'm going to take off is the bumper, but I got to undo the bumper lights, and the connector for that is right here. So you unplug this connector. Both wires from both lights come into one connector, so they're tied together, so you have to de-pin one of these wires. And how you get these de-pinned is I just take a flat screwdriver and you stick it in here and you kind of bend the tang over. I'll get you a close-up of how these are pinned in. So you can see there, I just put my screwdriver in there and bent that tab, and when you put it back in, you just want to make sure you bend that back out so that it locks in, and that'll separate both of these. And then you got the ground wires, and they come over here and connect into this panel, so you just got to unplug these from there. You'll find the other one, it's right there. So get both of those unplugged, and the wires are fed up under the fenders here. So I'm just going to pull these out. This one's hanging up on something underneath here. Let's see what that is. Okay, so there's a zip tie holding that. So let me cut that zip tie. Well, that connector's hanging up, so let me get that out of there and we'll continue with the bumper. All right, to get this bumper off, we got a couple bolts in the bottom here, and there's a couple just kind of tucked in, hiding underneath the fenders right up here. These go through this way, and ones down here go through that way. Hopefully it don't break. All right, you can't see it, but right there is where the bolt is. So you got to stick a wrench. I'll just use, it's a 1/2 inch, so I'll stick my 1/2 inch wrench in there and I'll catch that nut with the wrench, and then I'll go through the fender well with the ratchet and I'll get that bolt out. And make sure you drop your nut and washer down in there. That's always handy. You got a bolt, a washer on one side of the frame, another washer on the other side of the frame, and then a nut. That should be it on the bumper. Should just be able to pull straight out on this. And we got the screen in front of the radiator, and pull that off of there. Alright, next thing I need to do is I need to get some of the coolant out of the radiator. So if you look right down there, right there is the radiator drain. So unscrew that guy and drain the coolant out. Alright, now that you have a fresh coat of coolant on the floor, we can go ahead and pop the radiator out. There's a couple bolts right here and 2 hose clamps on the top right here. We'll go ahead and get those loose. These are 5/16. I'm going to pull the overflow hose off. And then these are 7/16. Little pry bar. Break these hoses loose gently, very gently here. Now you got the fan switch wiring right here to undo these. One's plugged into the fan. I just love coolant on the floor. It's my favorite thing. Alright, the other wire comes up here to the circuit board. I'm going to unplug that guy and we can pull the radiator out. Mind these little rubber grommets on the bottom. I don't want to lose those. You don't have to pull the radiator all the way out, but you can see how dirty this is. I want to clean this up before I put it back in. Alright, what we've all been waiting for. The cooling fan. Just throw that clamp down there. So we got 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 3/8. Pull these 4 bolts out and the fan will come out. Almost forgot. You got the ground wire to the fan. It comes up around here. So you can unplug that. And you got this vent tube. And there's your cooling fan. If you're removing your fan, you've got it tore down to this point and you need to do your steering stem bushing, right now is a really good time to do that because it's right there. You got good access to it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this fan put back in the machine and start putting all this back together. Alright, I got this radiator washed out. Oh my god, it was packed full of mud. So we'll get this thing stuck back in here. Ever so gently. We put the little posts on the bottom of the radiator down in these rubber grommets. Like so. And we need to feed this one wire up underneath here. And then plug in the wire going to the fan into the fan switch. And we can reconnect the hoses. Getting these washers and these nuts started on these bolts up here is kind of tricky. I'm going to stick the nut in the wrench like that. So I just stick the nut in the wrench and I'm going to push it in there and I'll thread the bolt into it like that. Of course you got to drop it at least once, otherwise you're not doing it right. Where'd you go? Alright, give me 3 days to find that nut. Alright, now that we got that important step out of the way, let's try to put this together. Alright, now we got to tuck these lights, the wires. Now we got to tuck the wires to these lights back up through here. Alright, now this one connector we had to pinch. Just grab you a flat blade screwdriver and bend that back out like that. And we can insert this back into this connector. Should snap in, not pull back out. We can hook these two ground wires back up. Plug this connector back in. I'm just going to verify that I got headlights. Now if you want to try to pull this radiator back without taking the bumper off, you can, but it's kind of recessed into here. You can see how the radiator is going to hit the bumper right here on both sides. So I don't think you really can pull this out very far. That fan is quite big and you got the fender in the way, so that's why I take the bumper off. Alright, so on this screen there's these tabs sticking out on the sides and you want to slip these into the slots in the side panel here like that. And then you wrap your two O-rings back around those tabs that holds it in place. Of course it's bent, so it's not going to line up. Okay, so I'm going to have to do some straightening. You can see these bolts aren't going to line up here. Alright, now I got to get the voltage regulator plugged in, or well, bolted on, I mean. There's 3 screws in this. I'm just going to stick the screws in here first, because that'll make it a lot easier. So don't forget to put this one bolt through that eyelet there for the ground. It goes in the center there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes in this, and the 3 screws go every other hole. So just so you know how to put that back on. I'll put this wire on the back side. All the other wires there. Stick that through, and then you have this piece here, and these 3 screws go through it. That way it's all together like this. And this will make it a lot easier to install this thing. Because of this bracket, it's hard. You can't see the screws or anything. You just gotta kind of feel your way into that screw head and get the screw started. Now you shouldn't need to bleed the coolant through the engine because we didn't drain the engine of coolant, we just drained the radiator. So you should be able to just top this up and then, you know, start it up, let it run for a few seconds and then check it again. Just gonna squeeze the hose a little bit here, get some air bubbles out if I can. I'm just gonna start it up for a second. Alright, now I just need to let it run and see if the fan kicks on, make sure that's all working. Alright, there's the fan running. Good deal. That means the fan switch is working and it's cooling. Awesome. Well, it's a bit of a job to get that cooling fan swapped out, but it's probably 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, as long as you don't have any screwing around with bolts or bent brackets or anything like that. So that's all I got for you this week. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and don't be afraid to fix it. Thanks for watching.